Welcome back, sports fans. I'm Landry Mazzarell. This week we'll catch you up on football, soccer, volleyball, and field hockey, discuss some highly debated topics as well as interviews from the cross-country meet on Friday. All this and more coming to you now. In their home opener, the Mountaineer football team took down the Elon Phoenix 44-10 in front of a sold-out crowd. App State recorded almost double Elon, rushing for 187 yards and passing 341 for a total of 528 yards. TD Roof showed out for the black and gold and intercepted an Elon pass in the end zone, running back 90 yards to set up a Mountaineer touchdown. Both Cam Peoples and Nate Noel had standout games, each rushing for over 70 yards, while Corey Sutton and Malik Williams each received for over 125. DeMarco Jackson led the Mountaineer defense throughout the game, never letting Elon breathe and recording 13 stops and 6 sacks. The team is hosting the Marshall Bisons tonight, who are 2-1 on the season after a loss to ECU last weekend. After a week of rest, both the men's and women's cross-country teams hosted the Fire Tower Project at the Don Kennedy Trails, with the women's team taking second and the men's taking first. In the women's 5K, the Mountaineers finished with 38 points and only fell to Elon, who is 7th in the Southeast. 4 of the team's runners came in the top 10, with Izzy Everly, who finished in 4th, Mackie Walsh, who finished in 6th, Lila Peters in 7th, and Jasmine Donahue, who finished 9th. All 4 girls broke season records during the race and finished in 17 minutes and 40 seconds or under. The men's team took home the gold and finished first overall in the race, and Mountaineer runners taking first, second, and third. Daniel Smith, Isaac Benz, and Ryan Brown all set season records at the event to put App State on top. All 3 men ran the 8K in under 25 minutes and 30 seconds. The stellar performance by Smith also bested the previous record for the run, which was held by Benz. Both teams will have a week off before traveling to Kentucky on the weekend of October 2nd for the Live in Lou Cross Country Classic, hosted by the University of Louisville. The field hockey team had their MAC conference opener this weekend, losing to Miami but taking down Davidson. The Mountaineers' game against Miami relied on both teams' defense, where the Red Hawks scored the only goal of the game late in the 4th. Frederick Stegen, Charlotte Bosma, and Anna Smarelli each fired off shots on Miami's goal, but none of them were successful. Addie Clark made 7 saves on the day and now leads the conference in saves this fall season with 42. In their second game for the weekend, App State took down the Davidson Bobcats in an offensive takedown 6-3. Charlotte Bosma and Sarah Farrell each scored 2 goals. Carly Sioko scored her 2nd goal of the season, and Anna Smarelli made a jaw-dropping diving goal in the 2nd quarter. On defense, both Pauline Mangold and Grace Ball grabbed saves from the Wildcats. Ball's performance this season earned her the MAC Defensive Player of the Week last week. The team will have next week to recover before hosting Ohio University on October 1st. The women's soccer team also opened up their conference play this week, falling to Georgia Southern 1-4, Coastal Carolina 1-2 in overtime. The Mountaineers had trouble getting their engines going this weekend, only scoring 1 goal between their 2 games. Both Emily McGibney and Olivia Cohen scored their first career goals this weekend. App State fired off 9 shots on goal during the weekend and let their opponents take 17 shots against them. Carrie Eagleston defended the goal for over 150 minutes and gave up 6 goals and made 10 saves. The Black and Gold are now 4-4-1 on the season and will be back in action against Georgia State next week. The Mountaineer volleyball team traveled to Greenville for the Pirate Classic, falling to the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley and ECU while taking down Gardner-Webb. App State lost their first and last games to UTRGV and ECU in 3 straight sets. Emma Riley hit a milestone in the ECU game and became the Mountaineers' all-time leader in digs after recording 15 saves during the game for an all-time total of 1,873. In their second game, the team was able to take their only win of the weekend and take down the Gardner-Webb Bulldogs 3-1 win after 4 sets. The Mountaineers are now 4-4 on the season and will start conference play next week by hosting Arkansas State and Little Rock University. When we come back, I will be joined in the studio by Noah C. Cornelius and Eric Fisher for a discussion about the rest of the football season.
Hola, soy Brenda de Buenos Días Boone. Así que venga a pasar sus mañanas con nosotros y sintonice en el campus o en los canales locales. Nos vemos pronto y que tengas un buen día, Boone. See you soon and have a good day.
Welcome back to the A Game. I'm Landry, joined alongside Eric and Noah. What did you guys think about the football game last weekend?
I mean, I thought the atmosphere was electric, and I feel like I say that with every episode because it's true. Like I say, you know, the Mountaineers have the best fans, but we are back at home for the first time. And, you know, I, again, have never been to an App State home game until last week. And I thought it was just absolutely amazing. You know, everybody was just coming together, chanting, having fun. The crowds are packed. You know, I didn't think I was going to make it to my seat in time, but that's why you get there early. But, yeah, no, the game itself was good. You know, we beat Elon. I wasn't expecting us to lose, and we didn't. I thought we'd win, and we did win. But what did you think about it, Eric?
Yeah, I thought the atmosphere was great. I thought the team's performance was really good in the end, especially looking at like the scoreboard. I mean, that really like tells the story, but sometimes it felt a little underwhelming, especially in the beginning. You know, it felt like a slow start, and I really wish the team just kind of had like more, I don't know, more drive. It felt like throughout the entire game, because sometimes it felt like they got like bailed out a little bit. Like Elon, I think, threw the ball a little easier than I would like to have seen, you know, because the competition's going to pick up soon. You're going to go into Sun Belt play. It's always tough. I mean, Sun Belt's not like, you know, a Power 5 conference, obviously, but the play will pick up, and that's going to be hard to deal with. But also, I mean, you're playing Marshall next week. Marshall suffers a loss against ECU, so you kind of feel confident going in that after taking down ECU, but you don't want to underlook them. But I was just hoping to see a little more, I mean, defensive like structure from the team, but still looked really good. I thought Chase Bryce really improved from his other game. He looked very comfortable in the pocket, which was nice to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chase Bryce had 293 yards passing, but only one touchdown on the day. That was kind of surprising for me. We did get 0 interceptions, though, which is always good. But on defense, we got an interception of our own. Shout out to TD Roof. That man, I remember sitting in the stands, and I pointed out to TD, and I looked at my friend, and I was like, TD's going to get this. Watch out 14, or 15, 14. And next thing I know, TD grabs the ball, runs it 90 yards, and I thought he was going to go all the way. But that was an energizer, too. You talked about earlier how it just felt slow at times, but that interception definitely got them motivated. But at that point, it was like 27-3.
I think it was, yeah, but definitely it felt like the momentum was starting to disappear. You know, it was a pretty easy drive by Elon, and I was watching this. I was kind of like, where's like the energy for the team? And then that interception definitely changed the tide back to the Mountaineers' favor, and that was nice to see. But TD Roof has been a great addition for this team. And, I mean, his play has really picked up. And especially I noticed in Miami, I felt like he was in on every tackle, every defensive play. He was always there. And I feel like we heard him again in the Elon game. And I feel like that's just going to be a continuing theme going on. And that's just going to be a great thing to see for the Mountaineers, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, I wasn't expecting a loss against Elon. So we came out and won 44-10. And now going into Marshall tonight, it's going to be a good game. Can't wait to watch it on ESPN Plus. Or wait, I'm going to be there. So.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I mean, the atmosphere's going to be great. It's going to be some cold weather finally. It'll be great. And I think that's going to be a huge advantage. You're home. That's going to be awesome. And just that weather, the atmosphere, it's going to be tough for other teams to play against. And Marshall, you know, they suffered the loss against ECU, as I said. But ECU's not a bad team. And the Mountaineers showed, I mean, they were pretty dominant against them. They showed they were the better team. So if they play like that, and they definitely could play better than how they did in the ECU game, I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident going in that game. I mean, Chase Bryce has looked better. And then Cameron Peoples as well. I mean, his running is just great. I want to see him get more touches going on in the season. I want to see him to show, like, he is the premier back, like, number one back. And I feel like sometimes we saw, like, Nate Nolan for a lot of, like, touches. So I think if they really utilize Peoples, like, what he can and show what he can do, I think this team and offense will just keep excelling as they have.
Yeah, and you talked about how Cameron Peoples needs a little bit more touches, but good thing you brought up Nate Noel because he's just as good. So I like the tandem duo going into Marshall tonight.
Yeah, I think it'll do well. I mean, running the ball, especially in that cold weather, that's kind of a thing, you know. Watching, like, the NFL, you really hear that when they play outdoors. And in college football in Boone, I mean, that's going to be a huge advantage. Like, you want to have a strong running back duo, and that could really push them over the edge because you don't always want to throw the ball. You know, your quarterback's hands might not feel warm. You might not feel comfortable throwing a long ball. But, I mean, I think Chase Bryce will definitely fit into this game and feel comfortable. But it will be nice to, like, for Chase Bryce to lean on Peoples and Noel if he has to and just have that kind of, like, in his back pocket just in case. But also, I mean, Sutton stepped up against Elon as well. 7 receptions for 128 yards, which is great to see because Hennigan was a little quiet in that game, which I was surprised about. But having him step up is great. So it just shows the depth within this offense, especially with the receivers. And that's huge to have in an offense, especially going with the running game and the receivers as well.
Yeah, and you talked about cold weather. Luckily, we don't have to worry about 2 feet of snow for about a couple more months now.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's our X factor, right? Get these warm weather teams up here and get them all cold and stuff, then we just take advantage and pound them in the house. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this will be huge for the defense. I think this will be a tough test for the defense as well. The defense looked a little shaky in the Miami game, and then at some moments in Elon, but I mean, they did dominate that game in a sense. But I think this will be a good test. It'll be a home game against a tougher team in Marshall, and then eventually we'll get to Coastal and Sun Belt play. But I think this will really kind of set the tone for the next couple of weeks, especially Marshall's a tough team, suffered a loss against them last year, so I think they're going to want revenge. And also, they know they can win this game, and they are the better team going into it, it looks like.
Yeah. Hopefully this game gives us a statement because Coastal Carolina is leading the Sun Belt 3-0, but we're not afraid. We just got to beat Marshall and just keep on beating teams, and sooner or later, Coastal Carolina is going to fear us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we played Miami. We honestly should have won that game. It was a really close game. There were some miscues for the Mountaineers that you wouldn't like to see, but I mean, that was the toughest opponent that's probably played in it for the Sun Belt so far. So, I mean, Coastal definitely has to look at us and be scared, and then they're coming to the Rock, they're coming to Boone. It's going to be a tough atmosphere for them. The fans are going to be in it. It's going to be a big game Wednesday night. So, I mean, that game, looking forward to it. If Appalachian State does what they can do, get the wins, I mean, the confidence should be great, but also just the performance overall. I should expect a win, I hope, in that game.
Yeah, and I wanted to add one more thing about the game versus Elon. Now, usually fans are very quick to blame the refs for a call. I know refs aren't perfect, but there were some very bad calls made during the Elon game. And I know this because I was sitting in the stands and on the app side, and I saw the coach stick up his hands. And usually, that comes out of just how do I say this? It's just like an emotion, what? How could you do that? And then when you look at the replay, it's okay, that makes sense. But we looked at the replays at some of the calls that these officials were making, and it was what? How did you miss that? There was a play where they called a tripping or something, and the wide receiver just fell. And they missed that. And I was like, how did y'all miss that? So hopefully the officiating is not always this bad in future games, but Elon officiating, I think they could have done a little bit better.
Yeah, and especially with that kind of kills momentum sometimes for a team, especially.
Absolutely.
And I feel like it definitely played an impact in that game. I mean, it wasn't necessarily that close of a game, but going on in the future with some bigger competition, especially in Marshall, you really don't want to see that because, I mean, that could really kill the momentum. But being at home, the fans can always get you re-engaged within the game. So I think that's something that to keep positive going into next week with the iffy officiating there. But I mean, on the road, that's going to be something they definitely have to worry about. You don't want to have that pretty bad calls that just really make the team feel flat and just weakened out after an iffy call like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you think about the American Athletic Conference? What do you want us to do?
Well, yeah, Landry, I'm glad you brought that up because 4 teams are leaving the AAC if they haven't left already. And App State has been in talks to move to the AAC. If for anybody who doesn't know, the AAC currently has 8th ranked Cincinnati playing there, and that's a tough team. But all the other teams there are unranked, which makes sense. But for me, I don't want them to go to the AAC. I'm not ready. I personally am not ready for that yet because, and here's why. The Sun Belt Conference is our bread and butter. It's so easy for us to get ranked, which allows more eyes to be on us. I'm not sure if moving to the AAC, right out of we're still in COVID, but right out of a COVID year is the best move because then we have to get reacclimated with all the new teams, and then we have to learn. I feel like it would just be a big move and a big workload for them. So I think eventually down the line, move conferences, yes, but next year, 2 years down the line, I think that's too soon. We just got to keep running this Sun Belt a little bit longer, keep getting more good prospects on this team, and then we make a move.
I disagree because I think I went to ECU, who is in the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, and I was watching it. There were some really entertaining teams to watch that would come to Daddy Fookin Stadium in Greenville, and they would put on a good show. It was fun to watch Navy play or Temple play when Temple was really good at the time. You had UCF and many other teams, Cincinnati, Houston, and Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF are the teams leaving the AAC, but they're looking to actually get an increase so they'll be even with 6-6 in the conference. But I think this would be a great move. I think you want to get better prospects, like you said, but I think making a move to a I guess you could say a more like elite conference in a way, would definitely get your like the recognition and the name out there for App State, because App State is a known name to like many like hardcore college football fans, but not really in general because it's in the Sun Belt. I mean, if you look at our conference, like our schedule sometimes, you see like Coastal, and that's like the big game you always look for, and like sometimes that in-state matchup that you get UNC or like ECU. But then it kind of weakens out after that sometimes, and it's like it doesn't feel like as, I'm not saying entertaining, but it sometimes feels like it like loses what could like build up your ranking and your resume going into like bowl games and stuff and to lower the competition, because we saw last year 6 AAC teams go in a bowl game compared to 5 for the Sun Belt, and the competition level for the AAC in the bowl games was much improved. Cincinnati at the time did play in the New Year's Six Bowl. I think they suffered a loss, but they still competed in a big bowl, and that's a big time game for them. And then before that, UCF competed in the New Year's Six Bowl as well, and they faced LSU before LSU won the national championship with Joe Burrow, and they actually won that game. That was the year UCF went undefeated. They really brought up the name of the AAC and like the recognition to it, and I mean they called themselves the national champions that year, and I mean it made sense. So, and looking at it, the Sun Belt had a losing record of 1-3 to the AAC in the 2020-2021 college football season. So we saw, and one of the wins I believe was App State beating the team, if I remember correctly, but it could have been Coastal as well. So I just think playing these teams would be huge, and also you could develop a big rivalry between ECU and App State. I mean, that game was like electric, and it was such a big thing here. You saw like talk on social media between like trash talk between ECU fans and App State, and that was entertaining. And having an in-state rivalry like that would be huge, just for like money, like revenue, and just in general like that. Like that'd be awesome for App State to get that, because UNC has that with NC State. UNC has that with Duke. ECU even has that sometimes with NC State or UNC when they play them. So I think App State getting in one of those rivalries would just be awesome for like the team overall.
You know, you brought up some good points there, but I've still got to disagree with you, because I just don't see the AAC as being a more elite league. You did bring that up, but the way I see it, they just seem equal. And I know you brought UCF up, but UCF had like a unicorn season. And I know we're only 3 games into this season right now, but they're starting out 2-1. Again, only 3 games into the season, but you know, I just, the way I see the AAC and the way I see the Sun Belt Conference, the AAC might be a little bit better, but I don't think the move is urgent right now. Now, if we were talking about the ACC and we had an opportunity to go there next year, I would say let's go to the ACC, because we're already playing the Tar Heels. We're already playing, oh my goodness, I'm blanking here. Why did I think that the Gamecocks are in
They're
SEC?
SEC,
SEC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got, I mean, if we go into the ACC, like Clemson and all those teams, like that would make sense. But I just don't see this benefiting App State right now.
But I think moving to the ACC would make less sense than going to the AAC, because that's such a jump in competition. I think you want to like kind of like test the waters a bit first, and moving to the AAC would especially make sense for the football team, because I think they could not only compete for the championship of that conference, but they could win it potentially and like be one of the more dominant teams in that conference. And I know you said they had a unicorn season, UCF, which they kind of did. I mean, they went 17-0. That's ridiculous in college football. But every year, we see an AAC team do this. We saw SMU do it before. We've seen Tulsa do it before. We've seen Temple do it before. We've seen Cincinnati do it back-to-back years. UCF do it. Back in the day, ECU was a dominant program in college football with Chris Johnson running for them. I mean, he was electric back in the day. So they've always had solid teams there, and you don't really hear that about the Sun Belt, except for the maybe past couple years. But even the big team in the Sun Belt is still like a little iffy, because they suffer losses here and there. So I just think, I mean, the AAC, I feel like is definitely a jump up compared to the Sun Belt, but the ACC, I think, is definitely like too high. I don't want to play Clemson yet. I mean, like, I don't want that to happen. But I mean, it would be fun to watch it occasionally, but I don't want to play them every year, because that might be ridiculous. Because I think going to the AAC is not only can they compete, but I think they could definitely win. And the ACC is kind of a jump, but I think it's like the right move. Just get your name out there, get more prospects. And I mean, Cincinnati's leaving, UCF is leaving, and Houston, and Houston was one of those teams as well. That was great back in the day,
right?
With Greg Ward as the quarterback. But with these teams leaving, I mean, there's still going to be a good conference. Boise State is one of the names, because they want to expand to 4 with 4 more teams. So Boise State is one of the teams that has a name that like definitely could go, and I could see going to them, and that would make sense. And Boise State's a pretty iconic college football team, and back in the day, and I believe it's the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, they had one of the most iconic ones ever against Oklahoma in their prime. And so, I mean, they're a great program, and they're known, they got the blue field. Everyone knows that in college football. Even, non-football fans know about that. But, I mean, if also App State does move to the AAC, I would see the American Athletic Conference also pulling another team from the Sun Belt, being Coastal. And I think that would be great for App State, too, because if that does happen, that would make sense because it would keep that rivalry going as well.
So, hold on. 2 teams from the Sun Belt.
I think that's very possible,
You think that's possible? So then wouldn't that be bad in that case? Because, look, I think if we alone went to the AAC, that would be good. But I don't want to have to worry about Coastal coming with us, I mean, look, we can beat Coastal, yes, but I don't want to keep playing Sun Belt Conference teams. I say that because I'm sick of the Sun Belt Conference, but the reason why I say that we should stay is because it's easier for us to get ranked and on that board, I mean, Coastal is 16, something like that, and that's crazy, to think a team from the Sun Belt can already be ranked just because they beat all their competitors. I think, it's a little bit of that exploit the system game. I know we're good, and if we beat all the teams in the Sun Belt, win the Sun Belt Trophy, whatever it's called, we get ranked a lot easier. I'm just not. I just personally am not sure about moving to AAC, at least not this soon.
Yeah, I get that, but I think moving with Coastal would be good too because I think we could definitely beat Coastal, and Coastal is really the only other major competing team in the Sun Belt.
That's fair.
So I mean, when you say the Sun Belt, I mean you're mostly referring just to Coastal in that sense because they're the big thing. But I mean, looking at the AAC, I mean they always have a couple teams in there or right on the cusp of being a top 25 team. So I mean, I think that'd be huge, but I know you're saying you want to get ranked and get the recognition out there, and definitely, but I mean, we're not even ranked now, and we're in the Sun Belt. So I mean, that's already iffy, but competing in the AAC definitely get your name out there. But you look, I mean, there's always teams having competition and getting their name out there and competing and just being ranked. I mean, Temple, I said in the past, Houston, SMU, Tulsa, they're always right there. And also looking at Coastal being the Sun Belt, they almost lost this past weekend against Buffalo. They barely made it out. They got very lucky in that win. So I mean, it's the Sun Belt just doesn't look strong, and the AAC always has pretty solid teams. I mean, ECU doesn't look super strong, but they almost beat South Carolina SEC team. They're, kind of close to us, but not really. But I mean, and then they beat Marshall, who were playing. So I mean, even these weaker teams in the AAC are still competing compared to the Sun Belt. The bottom teams in the Sun Belt are not putting up these fights.
I'll level with you here. I do think that a move out of the Sun Belt will be good. But like I said, I think a little bit further down the line. I think for right now, like I said, we talked about the COVID year in which Coastal Carolina took advantage of it, and now they're ranked or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think, moving out of the Sun Belt Conference would be good for us, but just not next year, maybe not 2 years down the line. Do we even know when the move to the AAC is happening? Are we talking about moving next year? Because if we're talking moving to the AAC 5 years down the line, then I'd agree with you. But for now, if it's next year, I'd say no.
Well, I believe Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston are all going to the Big 12, and I think it might be next. I don't know, because it all depends on when Oklahoma and Texas move out of the Big 12 to the SEC. And I know the Big 12 wants to push to get them moved out so they can have these AAC teams, and BYU is also going to the Big 12, so they can have them move in. So there's a lot of implications going on currently. It's a little confusing. I mean, because it's all depends on Texas and Oklahoma moving to the SEC. But I mean, I'm not really sure exactly the timeline it's going to happen, but why are you so hesitant to wait on it? Is there a specific total one reason on holding off?
I mean, for me, it's just I just don't think we're ready for that yet. I just think we need a little bit more time. Again, I keep bringing this up, but the COVID year, that drastically changed everything in college football. I just think that we need a little bit more time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but maybe just a little bit more time before we make a big move.
I mean, I totally get that, but I just think this team, I mean, we've seen what they can do. I mean, pulling off major upsets, getting close to pulling off major upsets, and competing year in and year out in the Sun Belt, and then before that in FCS, dominating in FCS. I just think this team has always been on a come up, and they're going to keep improving over time, and then will continue to happen. So, I mean, at this point, why not just keep going on this elevator and keep going up? So, I mean, I think that AAC is just one level up, and then you could go ACC eventually. And I mean, who knows what could happen if they're there's been rumors of the AAC creating a massive conference. I mean, it's really up in the air right now. But I mean, I think just moving out of the Sun Belt in general will be really beneficial for this football team and getting their name out there and showing what they're capable of.
Now that I can agree with you.
Yeah.
But Timeline, I can't, my friend. Not today. At least.
I get that.
Yeah, looking at that, it seems a little risky.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, there's so many questions with like what Texas and Oklahoma are going to do out of the Big 12, and then when Cincinnati's going to push to leave. So yeah, there's questions in that sense. So it just depends on a lot of implications, but. I mean, who knows? It would be cool, though, to see App State playing that blue field in Boise State.
Look, all I care about is if we get Bama. Give us Bama, we will embarrass them at the Rock, and then we'll be on national stage. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
But we can. I'm not afraid.
Just got to go to the SEC. Jump to AAC and go
jump
to the
to
SEC.
AAC. Clemson, Tar Heels, get all of us. Come on.
Well, thank you guys so much for talking about that. And now we go down to the State Farm Fields for interviews with our cross-country team.
Welcome back to the A Game. I'm Eric Fisher with
Lila Peters, Izzy Evely, Mackie Walsh.
All right, you guys had a great race today, coming in top 10, all of you. Did you do anything different to prepare for this race, or was it just felt good today?
I slept well last night. That doesn't usually happen.
Yeah, I think we've all just been really prioritizing health, physical health, mental health, and all of that, so we can come out here and just, give our best.
Yeah.
It's also the second time in the last 2 weeks you run this course, so it helps to know it a little better.
Yeah, I was going to ask, being home for the first 2 races, that feel well, and then you go on the road, does that help with confidence at all going into the season or anything like that?
I think it does. Yeah, gives us a little boost. I feel like.
Starting Sunbelt competition soon, how do you feel about that? Are you nervous, or will you prepare any differently?
Yeah, I think for the Sunbelt Conference Championships, we're really excited this year. Today we had a 40-second spread from our 1 to 7 girls, so we're really excited, and we're going to give it a good shot at conference and see what we can do.
Do you guys have any other thoughts about just a really great race for both the men's and women's team overall?
Yeah, I'm really proud of our team again.
We have a very strong team this year.
A lot of strong freshmen, which is really impressive.
Here with
Ryan Tusher,
Daniel Smith.
All right, so this is a great race for the men's team and the women's team as well. Men's team won outright. Dana, you had an incredible race. You both had incredible races. How do you just feel in general after this race?
I feel pretty good. I mean, this is definitely good going into Louisville here in a few weeks, and it's definitely a step in the right direction for the program, and it was good just being able to run as a pack. I really feel confident with where we're at in the season. We got some guys that are, feeling a little sick and, just not the best right now with injuries, but, whenever they come back, when the time's right, we're looking at late October. That's what matters, so I'm confident we're going to come around and be in a good place come conference.
Yeah, when conference play comes up, you going to prepare any different in general, with a different attitude, or just kind of go at it how you've been going at the other races so far?
I think it's really just it's going to be a different attitude. Of course, it's a big deal, and that's the whole goal of the season. I mean, regionals is that's also important, getting fast time at Louisville. But I think overall, you want to bring home that title at the end of the year, and that's something that Coach has talked about, and it's always on our mind. So we definitely come into it with a different attitude, I think.
Yeah, with do you feel like there's any different expectations at all in this season, or do you just feel like you're just going to go and do your thing and ignore all the other noise with the rankings and everything, or do you kind of pay attention to that, or do you just focus on your own game personally?
we definitely look at the rankings and see where we're at, but we're really focused on ourselves. We have a good group of guys. We have all the pieces we need, so we just got to work on getting it all together on the right day.
Yeah. Daniel, I have to ask about the penny pull at the end. How did it feel just to for this race with confidence and everything?
It was great. I had a fun time. It's fun running fast, and it's fun to win. So, hey, having fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts for going into future competition at all?
We're winning conference.
I'm Noah C. Cornelius here with the A Game, and I am here with Isaac Benz and Ryan Brown after their fantastic run today. What are your thoughts on how it went today, guys?
Pretty good, yeah. So last week or 2 weeks ago was a tempo for us, and this was supposed to be just a couple extra percentages up. If you're at 90% last week, this should have been 95. So a little bit harder, but still felt good. It was a relaxed effort all around. We got a few sick guys on the team, so overall, just great effort from everyone, especially considering all things. So, yeah, happy with that, definitely.
Yeah, super smooth. We were trying to pack up as best we could. We struggled a little bit with that, 2 weeks ago, just because it got out a little faster. But we did a really good job of packing up, and everyone just stayed super consistent. So we were really happy with it today.
So you're going to be going to Louisville soon here. How does the preparation change for that, or does it change at all?
A little bit. You're still walking into it like it's more relaxed. Still nothing to get overly excited about yet. We're aiming towards conference and regionals, so hold all your marbles till then. But looking forward to Louisville. Excited for that.
Yeah, spot on. It's a great opportunity to get a fast race, and nothing like this. We were expecting 200 to 300 people. That's how it was two years ago, and we kind of replicated the first mile of this race to be like what Louisville's going to be, and then Louisville is preparation for us for conference and regionals, which is the main goal. That's our focus. So Louisville, another stepping stone towards regionals.
I'm Noah C. Cornelius with the A Game here with men's and women's cross country coach Michael Crucio. How was the meet today for the men's and the women's runners?
Oh, well, for the women, we're pretty excited. This is our second home meet. Pretty good sized crowd, not as big as the last meet. The ladies got ranked in the top 15 in the region with 14th. That's the first time in probably 2 years. So we were pretty excited coming into the meet. Elon is ranked probably, I believe Elon's in the top 10 or 11. So we knew they were going to be tough. And we approached, the race plan was to get out with Elon and use that as practice for Arkansas State. I mean, Arkansas State's the team to beat in the Sun Belt right now. So we wanted to prepare by using Elon as that goal. And the ladies executed well. Much like all the teams on campus, everybody's dealing with head colds, sinus infections. So, everybody's just getting used to being around people again. So, just like that. But we were pretty excited. We had our top 5 spread was under 30 seconds, which is a big goal of ours. And our top 7 ladies were under 40 seconds. So that's going to be real important when we go to Louisville in a couple weeks. There's going to be 42 teams in that race. We're going to have to get out a lot harder. So we're pretty excited that they were able to do that and finish up well. On the men's side, we knew, top 13 in the region. Elon's got a pretty solid men's team, but not as good as our women. So we knew we needed to learn to get out fast, take control of that first 800. That was the goal. First week we were without Oliver in the lineup, and then this week we had Dwayne out of the lineup, Oliver back in. So we knew our number 5 would be kind of in the middle. But Daniel, Isaac, and Ryan, the 2 R's, did a great job doing exactly what they wanted to do the first 3-4 miles. And Calbert paced himself. So pretty excited. We're really glad Daniel's here, and Ryan just transferred in from Oklahoma, putting him with our school record holder in the 10K, Isaac Benz, and our really good steepler. So we're pretty excited. We've got some young freshman guys dealing with running an 8K for the second time. But we're pretty excited. It's family weekend here. We always talk with family school teams, so we had a lot of family here. A lot of people from the university came out, so sun's setting, so it's a good night.
Sounds like a great day for the men's and women's cross country team. We're going back to you in the studio.
Thanks.
Thanks, Noah. And looking towards this next week, football will be playing tonight at 7:30 against Marshall on ESPN. Volleyball will be hosting Arkansas State tomorrow and Little Rock University on Sunday, which you can watch on ESPN+. The soccer team will be playing Georgia State on Sunday, and cross country will be running in the JT Poston Invitational on Monday and Tuesday. And that's our show. I'm Landry Mazzarell, and this has been The A Game. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The A Game Sports.